Hey, what's happening? I'm back. And those of you that are following my journey in regards to the reading of the game, that's what it looks like. And it can be purchased on my website at consciouspress.net. Thus far, we've read 9 chapters, and I want to get you guys off into the 10th. Hey, let's get it done. The sun set high in the sky above Belmar's boat basin, a slight wind chill factor, a beautiful day for sailing. As Goldie pulled the large car into the parking lot of the basin and parked, Carla looked over at him and smiled as her mind filled with wonderment and her lungs began to fill with the sea air. She said, "Since you still haven't told me where we're going, is it okay that I assume we have arrived?" He returned a smile and replied, "Baby, this is only the beginning. Are you game?" She replied enthusiastically, "Goldie, I'm game." He got out of the car and walked around to the passenger side and opened the car door for her. As Carla exited the car, she breathed the sea air into her lungs deeply while observing the scenery around her. The people moving with purpose, a variety of boats, and the vastness of the sea itself. She said, "Goldie, it's all so beautiful." He smiled as he placed his shades onto his face and took her hand in his. "Baby, the next couple of days are not only going to be beautiful, they're going to be memorable. Trust me." As the both of them made their way down along the pier, Carla got the opportunity to see some of God's creations out along the rear of various boats that had lived in the underworld of the powerful, dark, dangerous, yet beautiful sea. Now, Carla was never a very big fan of water in such a large magnitude, and the activities of the pair made her feel rather nervous. She held on to Goldie's hand tightly. However, with him, he made her feel as though she could handle, or get through anything. She jumped at the sight of a large squid that was lying out on the pier at the rear of one of the boats. Goldie placed his arm around her waist and pulled her closely. "Que pasa, amigo?" Which meant, "What's happening, my man?" Joe hollered in the company of one of his full-figure women from the rear of his boat. Goldie looked up at him from the pier and smiled. He replied, "So far, so good. And this is my lovely lady Carla." Joe placed his arm around his woman and he gave Carla the once-over and said, "Hi, Carla, and this is my lady Carmen." Carla showed him her whites and replied, "I'm pleased to meet the both of you." Goldie interjected as he had looked around at the size of Joe's new boat. He said, "Wow, now this is some boat, man, and a huge upgrade from the last one." Joe smiled. "I still have the other boat. It's just that I had a guy dying for me to have this boat." After that statement, Carla looked over at Joe and then back at Goldie. There was a pause of silence. He continued, holding his hand out toward the both of them. "Let me get the hired hand to remove your things from the car, and then let's get you both on board." Now, Jose's boat was beautiful. An 87-footer. It was classified a small yacht. The boat slept 8, and the 4 rooms were located in the lower level of the boat. 1 room in each corner of the boat, although 1 room had been converted into a working office. Now, in between the rooms, there was a large area with a beautiful chandelier that hung overhead. There was a bar, an entertainment center in the entertainment area, which consisted of an amplifier, tape deck, DVD, and CD player. There was also a large LED screen television set, complete with video hookups and all of the latest movies and video games. There was also a dining area and a small kitchen with a hired hand for this trip. The boat was loaded. After boarding and touring the boat, Goldie and Carla went to their cabin to slip into something a little more comfortable. They watched each other undress. He stood there on one side of the bed in his undershorts. She stood opposite him on the other side of the bed in her panties and bra. She watched Goldie as he went through the things that he had brought on board. She couldn't help feeling the excitement that he brought about in her. And after seeing his body, she just let her imagination run wild. Now, Goldie also peeped over at Carla and noticed that she was deep in thought. Her eyes were fixed on him. Right then, he knew he had her, and that his calisthenic workout had paid off. He said, "Look at you. Such beauty should be painted, framed, and preserved for all times." Carla smiled shyly, as she felt herself blush with embarrassment. Goldie thought, there are just no words for such a package, as he crawled on all fours across the bed over to where she stood and kissed her on the mouth. He said, "Come on, baby. Let's get you dressed and up on deck. I have something planned that I think you'll enjoy." All of a sudden, the boat began to move. They were on their way out to the great beyonds. Carla said, "Goldie, I'm a little scared. I've never been out on a boat before." He smiled. "There are a lot of things you haven't had the opportunity to do that you are going to get to do for the first time with me. Would you like to know something new about me?" Carla replied, "Yes, of course, Goldie. I would like to learn everything there is to know about you." He eased up onto the edge of the bed and sat down before her. She felt a little awkward standing there before him in her panties and bra. He looked up into her eyes and said, "Baby, if I was scared of heights, I would climb. There is nothing like challenging fear and conquering it. It's the greatest accomplishment that one could ever hope to gain. This ability brings about great strength and courage. And Pumpkin, I'll protect you from all things." After Goldie and Carla had finished dressing in the lower level of the boat, he told her that he would race her upstairs to the deck, and they took off. When Goldie stepped out onto the deck, he quickly turned around to face her, and a moment or so later, Carla ran right into his arms and said, "Goldie, that wasn't fair. You took off running before you said go." He chuckled and kissed her on the forehead, and then he looked down into her eyes intensely and replied, "Baby, there is no competition between us. Just incentive and learning. When I win, chump, you win. You dig?" She showed him her whites. Now, Goldie had taken Carla and seated her on the deck alongside of the boat, and then he told her that he would return, and in a couple of moments, he did so. He returned with a couple of fishing poles and all of the accessories necessary to do some fishing. Carla smiled enthusiastically and watched the things that he did very carefully. She had never done any type of fishing before. Goldie baited her hook and placed both of their fishing lines out into the water. They made themselves comfortable and pursued a conversation based on the do's and don'ts of relationships while watching the passing sights and waiting on the fish to bite. Meanwhile, Jose and Carmen were down in the lower level of the boat, getting into one of their sexual escapades. It was like they couldn't keep their hands off of each other. Jose and Goldie had decided to hold their meeting in the wee hours of the morning while the women slept. They both agreed on that time because they wanted to spend quality time with their ladies the first day out to sea. They didn't feel that the interruption would be good because the women didn't know each other, and the fact that whenever women get together, they say the damnedest things. Now, Goldie and Carla had remained out on the deck enjoying each other's company. He said, "Baby, you do know that I'm into some pretty big stuff, don't you?" Carla replied apprehensively, "I kind of figured that much, Goldie." He looked into her eyes intensely. "I also want you to know that I would never try to pull the wool over your eyes. You haven't asked me any questions, so I haven't had to lie to you. I would like to keep it that way. Right now, I feel that some things are just better left unsaid." She placed a hand onto her thigh and said, "Goldie, I trust and respect you. Hell, right now, my life is in your hands. If you feel that's the best thing, I will honor your decision. I don't know if you noticed or not, but I really just want to be with you." After that statement, there was a strike at Carla's fishing pole. Goldie instructed her to pick up the pole gently, yet to hold the pole firmly. He continued, "Now when the fish pulls at your pole again, I want you to give the pole a jerk back towards you, but only enough to hook the fish. And after the fish is hooked, I want you to keep tension on the line. Then we will work to get the fish out of the water and onto the boat." He loosened the drag on her pole, and before he knew it, the fish had taken the bait and ran with it. The reel cried out, and Carla held on to the pole as if her life depended on it. She was so excited, she hollered, "I got one, I got one. Help me, Goldie, help me." He got behind her and put his arms around her, holding the fishing pole with her while he retightened the drag on the pole and instructed her to crank the reel. Now, Joe and Carmen were making their way up onto the deck, wearing silk robes, pajamas, and slippers. They had heard Carla screaming and hollering. The hired hand had appeared also. Carla was so excited that they all just stood around this scene, watching her in all of her glory. Goldie said, "Okay, baby, we've got to get the fish out of the water." Now, behind Carla's back, Goldie had signaled for Joe to start moving the boat toward the direction of the fish. Carla cranked and she cranked that reel. All of a sudden, the fish broke water. It was a whopper. Her eyes got big and she screamed out, "Oh my God." It made Goldie feel good to be able to give her such a thrill. Once Carla got the fish alongside of the boat, the hired hand helped gig the fish and get it on board of the boat. The fish still fought. It flapped, jumped, and splashed water all over Carla. She turned to Goldie with the thrill of winning in her eyes. She had never caught a fish before. He hugged her tightly and had given her a big victory kiss. Joe hollered to the hired hand, "Champagne for everyone." Carmen walked over and congratulated Carla on her catch, after which Carla looked over at Goldie and said, "The fish looks helpless. Let's let him go." He placed his arms around her, looking out toward the sea, and replied, "Baby, your wish is my command." Now, as this conversation was going on, the hired hand returned with a tray filled with champagne glasses. They all toasted Carla's first catch, and then Goldie instructed the hired hand to release the fish back into the sea. The hired hand asked, "Are you sure? That's about a 6.5-pound striped bass, and it would make for one hell of a meal." Goldie replied, "I'm not, but it's my baby's wishes." After all of the excitement had died down, Jose looked down at his watch, and it was 2:45 in the afternoon, and both parties had forgotten all about their lunch date. He informed Goldie that they would all meet after they had cleaned themselves up for a late lunch. Now, in the cabin that the two couples occupied, they were equipped with showers. Goldie and Carla stripped stark naked and showered together. In a lot of acts, Goldie felt that he was building trust, but then realized that it had already been established. It was like they had known each other for a lifetime. After getting themselves all cleaned up and dressed, they all met in the dining area of the boat. Goldie and Carla were already seated at the table when Joe and Carmen